Been a crazy 24 hours. All kinds of clips for Rise of Skywalker have leaked, by the way. I've watched like the final battle and a few other things. I'm going to go see the movie proper today, so I will have a review up probably towards the end of the day. It's going to be a later video because of the time. I'm going to see it at like 6:20 or something. And then, you know, I'll come home and I'll sit down and gather my thoughts and I'll make a video. However, for this video, we're going to go over the aftermath of yesterday because we have a clear picture to why critics don't like this movie. And I want to be clear, just because critics don't like this movie doesn't mean that it's going to be good. I saw that comment on one of my videos the other day, and I don't agree with that. The reason that they're trashing it is because it slaps Last Jedi in the face. That doesn't mean that it's a good movie. This is a rushed movie. There's 4 or 5 cuts of it. They were still they were doing reshoots on this movie all the way up until late November. They pretty much just slapped this movie together and crossed their fingers. Now, shills will shill. It doesn't matter if the movie's good or not. They'll make it good. Look at Captain Marvel as a good example for that. That movie had the right messaging, so they praised it. And they'll play ball once in a while. They're not playing ball for this movie. And a lot of that has to do for a couple of reasons. One, The Last Jedi. Two, apparently Poe and Finn don't slip inside behind sheds in this movie. And because of that, they're a little upset. And a few other reasons. So let's go over some stuff. So one big reason that critics are mad about this movie is that apparently J.J. Abrams panders to fans. I want to be clear. I don't feel bad for J.J. Abrams. Let me bring a reminder for you people about what's some of the things J.J. Abrams has said about fandom. Here's 2 different headlines of J.J. Abrams. One is from February 16th, 2018, and one is from December 15th, 2019. Let's look at what he said February 16th. J.J. Abrams, Star Wars fans who didn't like Last Jedi are threatened by women characters. Huh, that's interesting. Not a very nice comment to say about fandom from old JJ. But then we go down here where he's trying to get people to go see his garbage movie. Rise of Skywalker director J.J. Abrams says, "You can't look at fans as an adversary." Huh. Well, which one is it, J.J.? Also got this headline. Daisy Ridley wanted to cry in her car after watching The Rise of Skywalker for the first time. Well, I bet you Disney wants to cry in their car as well. We are sitting at 58% rotten. I think that's rotten, right? I'm not sure on the metrics, but that's pretty low. Don't you have to be like 70% to be fresh? 58%. Now, remember yesterday, we were at 44-something critics. I think it was at 44%. It actually rose up to 62, and then it went back down. So now it's at 58% with 221 critics.
That is one big pile of shit.
Now, this is pretty crazy because the shills are actually united in this, almost like they want to bomb this movie. And I think they do want to bomb this movie because of The Last Jedi, but I'll get to that. But I do expect some of the shills to come around. Now, I did a video on this. They're going to come out with the whole, maybe see it again. See the movie again. The second time I saw it, I really turned around my opinion. Really made me feel better about the movie. I don't think you're going to see too many of them, but you are going to see it. And then you'll see better articles pop up to try to damage control this movie because Disney's not going to be happy. And let's be clear, Disney cuts a lot of paychecks. But let's talk about why critics hate this movie and why fans like it. The main reason that critics don't like this movie is because unlike The Last Jedi, it's not that woke. It has a little bit, but it's nowhere near the amount of wokeness that Last Jedi had. Last Jedi was completely get woketh, go broketh. In fact, it broketh the entire Star Wars franchise, except for Mandalorian, which gets a lot of things right. Rise of Skywalker is just a complete mess, and that's why fans don't like it. If this movie had just been woke, they would have loved it despite all of its flaws, and they would have praised it. That's all they care about. They don't give a damn about plot, narrative, anything. They don't care. They don't care about characters. They don't care about character development. They don't care about anything. All they care about is ideology and politics and agenda. That's all they give a damn about. If it had any of that stuff in it, they would have loved it. In this movie, it would have been like 90-95% fresh. It really would have been, and you know it. That's the way they've been rolling for years. And that's one of the reasons that nobody trusts critics. That's why they don't like the movie. Fans don't like the movie because it's a complete, utter mess. It got slapped together last minute. They literally have like 4 different cuts of the movie because they were afraid to go with something. And they did try to play it too safe, but they thought, hey, if we give Rey 30,000 new force powers and make her, a strong super Jedi, fans will like her. But that's totally not the case. The case is she's just an unlikable character. That she has nothing. They never did anything with her. There's no reason to like her. All she does is get angry and scream and have like weird faces that she makes once in a while. They had a really good story with John Boyega, with a stormtrooper who, woke up in the middle of his conditioning and could have been force sensitive. I mean, they hyped it up like he was going to be. Then they said, well, we're going to throw him in the garbage, make him second fiddle to Rose Tico. Literally, his only reason for being around in The Last Jedi was to validate Rose Tico. That's it. They literally threw him in the trash. Now, that whole story of him breaking conditioning and becoming a Jedi, that could have been a hero's journey worth watching. Instead, we got a woman who could do anything and everything, fly every ship in the galaxy and do things that no other Jedi can. In fact, she even says in the movie, this isn't really that big of a spoiler, I am all the Jedi. In response to Palpatine's I am all the Sith. And this article really sums up what I just said very well. They pretty much say this movie gives in to Istin phobes instead of continuing on with its wokeness. That's pretty much the summary of why Fox didn't like this movie. And to bring it all home right here, we have the Los Angeles Times saying, review, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker is here to remind you just how good The Last Jedi was. This review is the most telling on that narrative, by the way. Scott Mendelson probably wrote 40 to 50 articles over the past couple of years defending Last Jedi. Last Jedi is the greatest movie. It's so beautiful. Why? Because it was super woke. Now, here was what the critics and the shills wanted. It was expected that Rise of Skywalker would triple along that narrative. It should have gotten more political. That's what it was supposed to do. That's how things work in Hollywood when it comes to these people. It didn't do that. So therefore, they're trashing it. They're not cutting their tongues on this or holding their tongues or whatever. They're letting it rip. They're giving an honest opinion of it, which is something you don't see. And like I said, had this followed the narrative and went from, slightly woke to super woke, they would have been praising this movie. Because one thing that doesn't matter to shills in Hollywood is a story or a plot. All they care about is the agenda. As long as that pushes forward, they're quite happy. They'd sit through 2 turds talking as long as they were talking about the right message, and they would praise it like it's some kind of super film, the greatest Oscar-winning narrative piece that you need to see, own several copies of, and literally worship the ground it walks on. But I do want to say, even with this movie being a complete bust, not all is lost. If you've been watching The Mandalorian, you know that there's good Star Wars out there that can be made. Anyone that's played The Fallen Order, despite the game's flaws, is pretty solid. So Star Wars can still have a future. And I believe that future is if it's headed up by this man right here with Jon Favreau. So this is Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni has done a lot of the TV stuff for Star Wars. You'll know him from Clone Wars, Rebels, and he's heavily invested in The Mandalorian along with Jon Favreau. You put these two at the head of Star Wars, I think you can salvage it, and you can actually start getting some good stuff out there. Now, the bright side is if this movie tanks, and I do think it will, I think this movie is going to tank. The way that it's been crafted, critics don't like it, and fans don't seem to like it. Now, I could be wrong. The general public will start seeing the movie over the weekend, and maybe they love it. We'll find out real fast what, normies and everybody thinks about this movie. But I'm pretty confident that they're not going to like it. I think the fact that this movie is a mess is going to come through, and people are going to hate it. And if this movie bombs, if it doesn't make $1 billion, you can pretty much guarantee Kathleen Kennedy is gone. And then, hopefully, maybe, if we're lucky, Bob Iger will put Filoni or Favreau at the head of Lucasfilm. And maybe, just maybe, we could finally start getting good stuff on the regular. Because if Obi-Wan is as good as Mandalorian, that'll be good signs. But this movie is not a good sign. It's really sad that we had to drive Star Wars into the ground to get people that could properly make movies. It's sad. I hope, because I do love Star Wars, I hope that it can recover from this. And I hope that we can get good stuff like Mandalorian. Like that show has been phenomenal. I actually care about the characters. I care more about a little green baby and a dude that barely talks than I do the entire sequel trilogy of characters. And that's pretty sad. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Give me your thoughts on all this. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear your thoughts, opinions, comments. Also, consider giving me a like. Remember, comments and likes, those are considered engagement points. That's what really drives a video in the algorithm. So please help this video be successful in the algorithm and give me some engagement. Also, consider sharing the video. That also very much helps videos move, gets actual new people to see the video because YouTube doesn't do that for you. If this is the Jimmy Kimmel Show, that would be a different story. Also, make sure you're still subscribed. That's very important. Double check. And subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that, and subscribe if you're new.